expectation, luxurious accommodations. The reality, more like a disaster relief campsite. A secluded private island getaway? Nope, just minutes away from a Sandals resort on Great Exuma, Bahamas, and the gourmet meals provided by celebrity caterer Steven Starr, exchanged for these plain cheese sandwiches and salad after the chef backed out. One attendee posting to Twitter, "This is how Fyre Festival handles luggage. Just drop it out of a shipping container at night."
It was over before it really began. The site of what was supposed to be a music fest in paradise on lockdown. VIP guests stranded after paying thousands of dollars for an island getaway turned disaster, now home.
We get there, I decide I'm going to save myself here, and you immediately know exactly what to do, right? Because this survival mechanism kicks in.
In 2017, entrepreneur Billy McFarlane and self-proclaimed hip-hop mogul Ja Rule set out to create the most epic, exclusive and high-end music festival of all time. What followed was a series of escalating lies and deception, leading to broken promises, shattered dreams and incarceration. Welcome to another special feature episode of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode, I'm going to be joined by a good friend of the show, Jill Reid, as we discuss the debacle that was the Fyre Festival. Welcome back to another special feature episode of Midnight Double Feature. This is actually a special one because we've been trying to line up an episode together for a very long time, and we only just settled on timetables and the actual subject. And I'm here with Jill. Jill, how you doing, man?
Oh my god, I can't believe this either. Seriously, we're finally here together.
Holy fuck. Like, okay, so the podcast is a year old next month. Like, that is crazy.
Yay!
But it's like literally from the start.
As soon as you told me you were gonna have a podcast talking about like film and TV shows, I was like, Zoe, I'm gonna be on your podcast. And then taken this long.
It just never materialized, and it was honestly just like one of those I'm busy this day and I'm busy that day, and then what are we going to talk about?
And I don't like Marvel movies. Oh my god! Or the podcast is going to hate me now.
Yeah, no, it's fine, man. Like that's what Matt's here for.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Matt loves Marvel for the both of us, so don't worry about it.
Exactly.
So I guess I'll just start off with how I know you, just briefly, right? So
sure. How do you know me?
How do I know you? Oh, uni. So we studied together very briefly, but not really together at all. More like through mutual friends when we were at uni together. So it was really like, I don't think we even had a class together, really.
No,
right?
I don't think so either. Can you remember like one memory? Because I have one of like because we were always quite like friendly because like we would see each other like you said, mutual friends. But do you have one memory where you're like, oh, okay, I can talk to her about like this kind of stuff, or we have this in common, like kind of thing, or just like a fond memory or something like that?
Jill, I forget what I did this morning, so you're gonna have to remind me.
I only say that because like I remember this one time we were at a bar. I even think it was because like we saw each other out and we'd go drinking, all this kind of stuff, and that's cool.
With our mutual friends, yeah.
Yeah, but then like I remember, I think it was even after either because I've got such a bad memory too. It was either after. I think it was even after my film or, oh God, I'm trying to no, it was after our mutual friend's graduation. We went to a bar, I'm pretty sure. And then it just so happened that Orange is the New Black season, like, I don't know, the good one finished. And we just happened to talk about the ending of Orange is the New Black while everyone's like having drinks, talking about their life and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like saying like all my theories and whatever else. And you're like, oh my God, yeah. And then you were saying all your theories. I'm like, okay. He's the dude I go to talk about it.
Was it Sidebar? Was that where we went? Was that?
Oh God,
I really can't remember.
Some bar in UTS. Near UTS.
Okay. I legit can't remember. But I do like vaguely remember because like that happens with me all the time. Like
Yeah,
whenever like
okay,
I
sorry.
unlock, yeah.
Not
Like,
that
whenever-
memorable. I get it. It's fine.
That's not what I mean.
Cool. No, I get it. It's cool. It's fine.
No, I'm just saying, like, seriously, that happens so fucking often. I'm sure it happens often to you as well. When it's just like
Yeah.
you unlock like a thing, it's like,
I
oh
love
shit,
it.
this is like a mutual thing, right?
Because like you're obviously into film and TV show like myself, and I love it when like people casually talk to me about their favorite TV show, and they'll be like, "Oh, I just got into this TV show. It's called Friends," kind of thing. Well, that's what TV shows feel like to me. So if like every TV show that I kind of watch, I'll watch it like 3 or 4 or 5 times, like over and over again if I really like it. So when someone comes up to me and they start talking about like, "Oh, I just got into this TV show and this happens and that happens," I'm like, I know what you're talking about. I know the story. I know the plot twists. I know like the cinematography. I know what you're talking about, kind of thing. So I always feel like I'm the crazy one when people come talk to me. So to have someone on the same level is always a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like I totally know what you mean, man. Like, because there's just this like you're on the same level. Like when someone comes up to you and they're like, "Do you remember this plot twist in that TV show?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I lived that plot twist, man." Like, but like seriously, we've bounced so many ideas back and forth. Like you and I are Office aficionados. Like we love The Office. Yeah. So I remember in the early days we were like wanting to like cover The Office somehow, like all 9 seasons.
We'll still figure it out.
We'll figure it out, guys. Don't worry about it. We'll get there. And then like, and this is like a little teaser, but not really. We will for sure do a Game of Thrones episode before that shit drops in April for sure.
And hey, if listeners want to request, I talk about the character arc of Michael Scott for an hour, I'm happy to do so. Like
I'm down with that.
I can do that.
I'll talk about Dwight.
Oh, that's a good one. Damn it. All right,
that is a good one. Talk to me quickly about Jolt.
Okay. So Jolt is really, because I felt like I started to post a bit like of my favorite TV shows and stuff like that on my personal account. And I feel like I just wanted to separate my own face to reviews. And I honestly, like, look, we can get really deep into this and figure out the psychology of why. But I just wanted to like, I just wanted to like not have an association with my face or name or anything like that with my like reviews. I didn't want it to be like judge my character based on these reviews. I just want it to be like, this is a review or this is an opinion of a TV show or a film that's coming up and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of why I created Jolt. And Jolt for me was just like just this word or name that like I actually found or came across it in uni. It was kind of like a pseudonym that I would even put on. Fucking hell, I sound so freaking artsy. Oh, I would put it on.
You're
like,
on a podcast.
I'm
Realize where you are.
I would put like created by Jolt or whatever else on like some of my like films I would make for university and stuff like that. I don't really even know why. I just like finding like cool words or names for things, and Jolt for me just stood for like, well, Jolt, like when you watch something and you get like kind of like ASMR before ASMR was around. That's what I associated like Jolt with, like, because for me TV is like my ASMR. Like I would fall asleep watching like Friends as a teenager because it was just like my ASMR. When you're watching Game of Thrones, I recently just was rewatching Game of Thrones and the Battle of Bastards, like you're sitting at the edge of your chair, and then like when those horses just come together and they just like clash, and you just get this jolt of like even like an electric or like a vibe in your body. That's kind of like what TV like is for me. It's that like jolting of like your emotions.
Pants-shitting moment.
Yeah, like holy fuck, this is incredible. Oh, like oh my God, I was watching. We'll go off topic again, but I was watching Game of Thrones and I was just laughing to myself.
We haven't even introduced the topic, so it's fine.
But I was just watching Game of Thrones recently, and I was just like, every so often when a scene ended, I was just laughing and clapping to myself, being like, oh, I can't believe this TV is being made, kind of thing. So yeah, that's my relationship with TV, and that's why I like it. That's where the whole Jolt thing is coming from. But now it's kind of, the Instagram page has kind of just turned to, I watch a lot of British panel shows. they're definitely my guilty pleasures. I love British humor, comics, and all that kind of stuff. So my Jolt Instagram page recently has just turned into quotes from my favorite British shows. So soz about it, but I just love these people. And Richard Ayoade is like my muse. So, but yeah. And then
my God. You mean Maurice Moss?
Yeah. He's a great muse.
I was gonna say I do love British comedy. Like our mutual friend, we'll just fucking name him Chris.
Chris.
Yeah. So like we used to watch Fawlty Towers. Like seriously,
oh my God. I grew up watching that. Like
Same.
As a toddler, I would watch that.
Yeah, and my dad used to watch it when he was like fucking in Fiji and shit. He's like, this was my
That's
my
crazy.
I would watch this, and I'm just like, man, and like the comedy in that is just so top notch. So you've got that, you've got In-Betweeners as well. You've got like obviously the British In-Betweeners. Like, no, I'm not talking about the US one. Yeah. Fuck that. And then IT Crowd. That trio for me, man. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So let's introduce the topic for this episode.
Go for it.
So we are talking about the Fyre Festival. If you guys haven't heard of this shit is wild.
You need to, like, people have definitely heard about this. Like, if you're on Reddit, or if you're on Netflix, if you're on YouTube, like Twitter, like it's gone crazy.
Yeah, if you've seen a random photo of a guy in a red sweater and with kind of like graying hair, like that relates to the Fyre Festival. If you haven't seen it or you haven't heard about it, there are two great documentaries that came out in tandem, and that's why it's kind of like in the spotlight right now. So those documentaries are called Fyre Fraud, which released on Hulu in January, and Netflix released Fyre with the subtitles "The Greatest Party That Never Happened" in January as well. So definitely check those out. Jill, you've seen, like, before we start, you've seen both of them. I've only seen the one from Netflix, but talk to me about like the differences between the two and whether the Hulu one is actually worth watching, because I definitely think the Netflix one is definitely worth watching.
Yeah, I saw the Netflix one first, and honestly, amazing documentary. It was insane. I thought like the emotion, like the whole story, how they did it. It was just a great example. If you're not someone that likes documentaries, or you're not someone that really like gets into even reality TV or movies, this is a great like. I think everyone would like this because it's got personal interest, it's got the disaster, and it's just
a bit
fun.
like a gateway drug. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's a good introduction.
It's fun to watch because, like, thankfully, no one gets severely like injured, so it's just a fun thing to watch. Some certain people fail, but yeah, the main difference I felt with the Netflix and the Hulu one was, especially the first like half hour of the Hulu one felt a lot more of like a profile piece. So if you really are into documentaries and you prefer either performative or performance profile pieces or anything like that, this is definitely like a profile piece. Or even if you're looking to study maybe a profile piece for university or college or anything like that, this is a great one to do for a profile piece because it's more centered on Billy. Even though obviously, you know, he did Fyre Festival, so there's obviously a lot about the Fyre Festival in his companies and the people that were affected.
We'll get to Billy. Yeah.
But it's definitely more of a profile piece. And I think just it's more like the Netflix one, it's emotive. It's definitely emotive. And we'll talk about, I don't know if you know too much about this, like the production people behind the Netflix production as well, and there's a reason why there's such amazing footage on the Netflix one, and why maybe the Hulu one, it's more like talking heads interview kind of vibe, that kind of like profile kind of piece, I'd say.
Just a heads up, I don't know much about the behind the scenes production of the Netflix one. Like, I just watched it like an idiot, and I was just like, this is cool. But no, seriously,
it's just because like this is the thing. This is what I was talking to you about. When someone comes up to me and they say, "Oh, have you watched this?" I'm like, "Yes," and I've done extensive research behind it. I've read the IMDb page, and I know all the most popular actors in it. I know their kids' names, their
Right.
dogs' names, and yeah. So this.
Exactly. No, seriously, I'm not even kidding. Like the last like 2 girlfriends that I've had, like they've always just a bit like, oh, you know weird shit.
Yeah.
Like they're just like you know strange things, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, because like every time I go to the movies, I'm like, yeah, so this guy directed that and directed
Yeah.
this, and then like, yeah, but yeah, what?
Yeah.
No, so seriously, I think it's gonna work really well with this episode because I know a lot. Well, I want to think I know quite a bit about the Fyre Festival in general, but I don't know enough about the behind the scenes of the documentaries, which I'm so glad that you do know. So
let's not get hopes too high.
let's not count
downgrade
our
that.
chickens, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I do want to talk about like how I came across the documentary. So I just come back from soccer training after a whole day of work, and I was like super fucking tired. By the way, guys, we covered this documentary, Matt and I, we did like a little review of it a couple episodes ago. So if you want to hear Matt's thoughts on it, you can just go back a couple episodes. I'm sure it's titled in there somewhere, and I'm too lazy to say it. But yeah, so I literally, I'd heard about it, and I was just like sat down at 11 p.m. and I had work the next day, right? I had to wake up at like 5:30. So I was like, you know what? I'll just watch like half an hour of this and see how I go. And dude, I watched like an hour and 40 minutes, like the whole thing. And I was like, I am so fucking engrossed in this thing, man. Like it was so good. Because like, I think for me, I was telling you off air, I've been so into documentaries lately. Like Netflix have just been pumping them out. Yeah. And like lately I've been watching, the one I've been watching right now is the Ted Bundy one, which is pretty good.
Have you been watching it alone?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a male. You're a female. You're the target. You're literally the target.
Careful, mate.
I don't think he's too attractive. But anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't watched it, so I can't. It's one thing I haven't watched.
I recommend it. But like that's what I'm saying. Like most of my documentary watching is true crime because that's also what I'm into as well. Like I listen to true crime podcasts and things. So. It was really, really interesting to watch something like a documentary that wasn't true crime based, and it was really, really well done, like in an emotional way. I did watch another documentary that wasn't a true crime documentary called Icarus. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it won the Oscar a couple of years ago. It was about like doping in the cycling world, and it's all about like conspiracy in Russia and shit. It's actually pretty damn good. So check it out if you But I was like totally engrossed in this. But how'd you come across the docos in the first place?
How to like find it?
Yeah, well, how'd you hear about Fyre Festival? Like, did you know about Fyre Festival?
No, so I don't have a Twitter, and that's where I think most of like the like memes and the jokes and the like trolling and all that kind of stuff came from. But of course, everything like trickles down eventually to like either Reddit or Instagram and stuff like that. And I think even like and people were talking about it, I feel like, because it happened in, was it 2017? It happened?
Yeah, 2017,
Yeah, so I think I do remember, like, people talking about it, like, just in reference, like talk shows, you know, would make jokes about, like, oh, this presidential campaign is the next Fyre Festival, or, like, you know, they would just make, like, reference to, like, Fyre Festival, but I didn't really know about it. Funnily enough, like, the main reason, or not the main reason, but the main way I came to like actually just Google it was after TanaCon, when a lot of the people like from TanaCon or like from Shane's videos about TanaCon or people like on YouTube, whatever, I saw a lot of the comments being like TanaCon was the YouTube Fyre Festival, and I was kind of like, and everyone was posting about like TanaCon's the Fyre Festival, TanaCon's the Fyre Festival, and I was like, what is this Fyre Festival like that that sounds familiar, but I don't 100% know what it is. So yeah, I Googled it and I found out it was like this festival that didn't go ahead, blah, blah, and I didn't really think much of it. But then like I remembered it, and then this doco came out, and like Netflix, like it was like this big promotion kind of thing. And like you said, I've been watching a few docos recently, so I was like, all right, I'll give this a go. It's only an hour and a half. It's not too long either. I think it's like an hour and a half about.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah, and it was just so consumable. Like you said, it was just because my expectations was like, I've heard of this. It was about some like failed festival that I don't know too much about. Let's give it a watch. And it was just so like, it drew you in, it told you everything, like it educated you about what Fyre Festival was. So even if you're like me, didn't really know what it was or anything like that, you don't really need to do much research on it. And it just like, yeah, brought you in. And I only knew about the Hulu one because you mentioned it, because I don't really watch Hulu. So yeah.
No, same. But yeah, like I think the big like challenge is like, even because obviously like music festival goers, that's kind of like a niche audience, right? So if you set out to make a documentary about a music festival, like you're already kind of segregating your audience. But like I think they did such a great job of like, you know, even if you have never been to a music festival, you can like appreciate how big of a debacle this thing is.
Oh man, yeah. If you've ever organized an event before,
yeah,
like whether it be your like work Christmas party or like your own party or like just like, yeah, if you've ever organized like, and if you've been to a concert or a festival, like the fact that they had to start it from scratch is like, you go, even as like me, a mere mogul, like a mere mortal, I can't do that. Like, no, that's not possible. So you as a consumer, like audience member watching this with these people that should be industry experts that should know what they're doing, it's that evocative, like you're yelling at the screen type of thing. Like, what are you doing? What fucking idiots? And that's why it's kind of like, well, you deserve what you got kind of feeling as well.
Yeah. Oh, like, I mean, there are like a lot of people involved, but like, I think what kind of like makes it satisfying is that, you know, we as humans like to do like a little bit of a witch hunt. Like we want someone to blame.
Sure.
And like just seeing Billy McFarlane, like, I mean, I'm definitely saying that he is the guy responsible, but it is awesome that we have like a bad guy for this, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's enough, I guess, preamble. So what do you say we get into this,
Sure.
into the Fyre Festival? Great. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the history of Fyre Festival, like how it originated, and, you know, during the way, so it's all going to be like pretty as chronological as possible, and we're going to talk about the key players and things like that and what happened and things like that. So, Jill, if you have, you know, little insights or tidbits or, you know, even like how you feel, feel free to jump in, you know. So the festival was organized by a guy named Billy McFarlane and the famous rapper Ja Rule, which already is like,
you're
what
just
the
like,
fuck?
oh, I trust those two.
Yeah.
If I want anyone to run my campaign, it's Ja Rule. Let's get Ja Rule on this.
For sure. It's the guy from fucking Fast and Furious. Definitely, that's the guy. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Billy McFarlane, man, like this guy is. He kind of makes my skin crawl. Like I just.
Do you reckon like this is, again? I know you only like said one sentence, but like this is obvious like narcissistic behavior as well.
Yeah, it's narcissism, and it's also well, like he was charged with fraud, but like one of the key elements of fraud is deception. Like
yes,
like having that ability to like outright lie to your investors and lie to the people who are like giving you money and working for you, and you know, the poor fucking people on Exuma Island that we'll talk about soon.
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah,
it takes a lot, and honestly, we'll get to it later. But Ja Rule, he is. I can't take it seriously.
I know.
I can't take it seriously, and I'm not even going to try his voice because my throat will start hurting.
Okay.
So. I'm pretty sure Matt tried. I tried it, and I'm just like, yeah, you can deal with that, man. But like, even though he said, you know, I've got no responsibility here, like, come on, you do,
off,
dude. Like, you can fuck off.
He's the face of the fucking company,
right? Like. Exactly, and honestly, he is what kind of made me sit up. Like I was just like, okay, so Ja Rule's pretty famous. Like, I wonder what the fuck this doco is about. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he is the kind of the face. Like, you wouldn't really watch this. Well, you would, but like Billy McFarlane is not. He's a no name.
Yeah, it's a no name. Yeah.
So Ja Rule had come to know McFarlane through regular visits to events McFarlane hosted at his previous venture, Magnesis. Magnesis, by the way.
What
Jesus
a fucking
Christ.
Was it in the Hulu or the Netflix one where literally Billy McFarlane stated that he spelt Magnesis wrong? And that
I believe it was in the Netflix one.
If that's just like one like analogy of how like this guy runs business, that he spelt his own business name wrong and didn't correct it, like.
But it's like what? Talk about a warning sign, right?
Yeah,
like talk
legit.
about massive incompetence.
Yeah.
During a flight to the Bahamas, McFarlane and Ja Rule's private plane touched down on a deserted island, which they later discovered was Norman's Cay, the former private island of Carlos Lida Rivas, a kingpin of the Medellin cartel. Medellin, obviously, Pablo Escobar. McFarlane arranged to lease the island from the current owners on the strict condition that no reference be made to the Pablo Escobar connection. The island, I'm already laughing because it's such a ridiculous story, right? The island footage was with the hired supermodels used for the festival's promotional material was all shot on Norman's Cay, and planning for the event went ahead. In early 2017, McFarlane violated the terms of his contract when promotional video for the festival was released on social media, advertised Norman's Cay as, quote, once owned by Pablo Escobar, end quote.
That for me was when I fucking lost it, because that was like in the Netflix documentary. It was pretty much like that was like the first thing that they did, like they physically did, and it was like that was the first thing they did, and it was wrong. Like again, like just another warning sign of like, hey, don't use that. You know, the whole once was owned by Pablo Escobar thing. Okay, cool, thank you. Next minute, Billy McFarlane like uses this, once owned by Pablo Escobar, like in the title. Like,
so, okay, but here's the thing. Like, it is, okay, he fucked up hard there, but like, there's no denying that. But Jill, you and I studied one unit of advertising at least, right? Like, I believe it was called Intro to Advertising. You can see kind of why he put that out there, right?
100%. I know why he did it, but it's just so hilarious that the fact that they were like, oh, you can have this island, just don't say this. And then he was like, cool, I'm going to use it kind of thing.
It's like, don't get the gremlins wet. Like immediately. Yeah. It's just
like, you could have gone around about to do it. You know what I mean? Like they could have made like made blogs of like people like copywriters to write about that it actually is owned, but they can be like, oh, well, we didn't advertise it as that. We just got people to write about it. That's it kind of thing.
Or even just like, you know, like somehow got like people to Google Norman's Cay.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find out that it was an Escobar owned, you know, like property.
Yeah.
And then following that, the owners immediately cancelled the freehold. And then straight after that, a frantic search for a new island venue ensued. After several small islands that seemed like likely venues were turned down, the Bahamian government gave McFarlane a permit to use a site set aside for development at Roker Point on Great Exuma, just above the Sandals Resort. Dude, you know the first thing I thought of when I heard Sandals Resort?
Oh my God, I didn't even make the connection until now.
Sandals, Jamaica!
I just wish I had a like little xylophone right now so I could make the sound.
Get it hot, 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 yeah.
How you like it? Hot, hot, hot.
This is The Office, guys. I'm just like reminded of like the nude that Jen sends around. And who is it when they're just like, call me when she rolls over?
Oh my God, yeah. What's his name? Fuck.
Reid?
No, it's the guy with the bald head. What's his name?
Oh,
Hunter.
Packer. Yeah. Todd Packer.
Packer. That's it.
Yeah,
Hunter's the assistant. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
with the singing voice, yeah. Material released on social media continued to promote the falsehood that the festival was being hosted on Pablo Escobar's private island, with maps of the site altered to make it appear as if Roker Point was an island unto itself, which it was not. Like already you have like false advertising, right? Like that's incredibly like wrong. Like it's insane. Like the amount of wrongdoing in this case. Like we haven't even started.
Yeah, this is like one of 1,000.
Right. On December 12, 2016, Kendall Jenner, Emily Ratajkowski, and other influencers paid by Fyre. So pretty much everyone, like, I hate. Like, I'm just like, I like, they're beautiful women, but like, I hate them so much. Simultaneously posted on their Instagram feeds an image of an orange square with the stylized logo of flames. It's a pretty like good strategy though.
Yeah, so like I have this like internal like monologue whenever this kind of issue comes up, and I feel like we can get into this later, but I feel like this kind of issue is so relevant today, where influencers will take on a campaign, a brand, a business, an event, and it's like, do they have the permission to even do their own research? And like, because now like with the whole Netflix special saying like they're part of the like legal proceedings and everything like that because they were the face of the brand kind of thing and they were selling the brand, and it's like but then it's like, well, we were and I'm on two sides because they were sold the same story that the ticket holders were, really,
right?
So it's kind of like not their fault in a way because they were told like this festival was going to go ahead, it was all fine, blah, 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 and then that was it. And they did their shots and then that was it kind of thing. And I get that. That's totally fine. But it's kind of like you are such a big influence. Like when they got Kendall Jenner on, who has nearly 1 billion Instagram followers, right? Like that is like, if you have that much influence, do you hold a higher responsibility? I guess that's my like internal, like, it's hard. I feel for them, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm kind of on the same page. They're not my favorite people either. So I just feel like I want to like fuck them off too. But it's like, wait, no, let's have a human discussion here. And like, yeah, it's a tricky one.
I think there is a level of like negligence there, but like you also kind of have to remember that like people like Kendall Jenner and Emily Ratajkowski, whose net worth are in the millions, and like Kendall Jenner's like hundreds of millions, right? If not billions. They've got staff, like they've got managers. Like I'm sure the managers somehow would have done some research or something. That's what right? I mean. Like before.
Yeah. Like, do they have? Weird. Yeah, they like. Is it fair to hold Kendall Jenner and these influencers but like as responsible as like, because they were essentially the ad campaign.
For enticing people to come, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. I think it'll be good, like if they're dragged into this court case, which I'm pretty sure they are. I didn't look into that much, but if they are dragged into it, like it would be a good defense, like to show that they did do their due diligence, and you know they were like to show that you know Billy, kind of like I guess engineered like numbers and shit to show that this is going to work out. So
you're exactly right. That's what they can like claim, I guess, is like, well, we got showed the same figures that the investors got showed, kind of thing. So yeah, that's true.
This is like, by the way, this is my the most my law degree has been used since I've got it. So
well, there you go. Yeah.
Yes, it's working out.
It's all worth it, Zoe. All that time.
All that time and effort and money and student loans. Yeah, hell yeah. So clicking the logo opened a promotional video showing Bella Hadid and other models represented by her agency running around a tropical beach. Text with the video promised, quote, an immersive music festival, 2 transformative weekends on the boundaries of the impossible, end quote. This was the beginning of the Fyre Festival's promotional campaign.
I loved it so much. Like one of my favorite quotes probably from like both of the documentaries was one of the filmmakers for the ad campaign said like that was Fyre Festival. Like shooting the commercial was their Fyre Festival because it was like all these super hot models on these private yachts,
having a good time,
getting
drunk.
Yachts? Yeah, fucking cool, bogan.
Nice.
Just having a chill time, like drinking on the beach, whatever, doing whatever they want. And like you just see Ja Rule running around being like I feel like he would have been that type of guy that was like running around to people like yelling at them, have fun, like kind of thing. Like, we've got to shoot this now. And like, I don't know that.
No, I was gonna say there is a scene in the Netflix one where he's like trying to force them into the water.
Yes. And they're all like, when all the models are like just swimming, probably just trying to have a break and just like have fun. I love it how Ja Rule's like, take photos of this shit, like kind of thing. He's like, we should be Instagramming this moment right now and everything. I was just like, oh my God, this is hilarious. This is just deliriously like insane.
He reminds me of like someone at like a birthday party, and it's their own birthday party, but like,
he's look at this like cool shit.
Yeah, come, there's karaoke. Oh, I don't want to do karaoke. By the way, just quickly, so you said bogan. I literally on the last episode of our podcast, because most of our Americans are listeners, so. Most of our listeners are American. Jesus Christ, I can't talk. I had to because we did Mad Max, which is Aussie.
Yeah.
And one of the characters in that is like full on talks like a bogan. So I had to explain what a bogan was, which is hilarious. But anyway, so an investor, fashion executive named Carola Jane. That's a name, by the way. Jesus. Reportedly arranged for Fyre to receive a $4 million loan, which the company used most of it to rent luxurious offices in Manhattan's Tribeca neighborhood. Wow. With no experience staging an event of the proposed festival scale, McFarlane began approaching companies that did, and he was reportedly taken aback when they told him the event would cost at least $5 million, perhaps even $12 million to stage in the time available as he had promised. Like, that is already kind of insane.
It's big money.
It is big money, man. Like, you got to remember, you're not playing with like money in the thousands here, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and the fact that it's like an actual, like we've said before, this is like a starting from scratch type of event. You know, he's going to somewhere where it's literally a deserted island, and he has to build the stages, and not only build the stages, but have contractors and engineers there to make sure the sound quality is good and make sure it's safe. And there's so much that goes into, I can't even fathom that. I can't fathom how much even paperwork would have to be involved in that kind of.
Oh, you'd need lawyers, you'd need insurance. Yeah, for sure. The thing about this is that it was kind of unprecedented. You can it sounds like I'm on Billy's side so much, but really Billy, there's this kind of part of it where he's naive as well, because he can't just go back into this history book and see how did these guys do it, because massive events like EDC in Las Vegas or Ultra in Miami, those actually have infrastructure, they're in massive cities, they're not on fucking deserted islands, and they don't have just this absolute deserted desolate area. It's crazy.
I feel to people like Ja Rule and Billy, and even, Ja Rule. I can't believe I'm referencing Ja Rule.
I know.
I never thought in a million years I'd be talking about a documentary featuring Ja Rule, but here we are on a podcast with you.
I know.
That's the most surreal bit. But and I kind of briefly touched on the TanaCon thing before, but I think also the Fyre Festival is an example of what happens when delirious people surrounded by yes men are given or are inspired or are told yes over and over again. And it's kind of he's become either delirious or he's lying. He's a compulsive liar for sure. He's a compulsive liar. And he's the fact that now he's turned to lying to himself as well is, especially in the Hulu documentary, if you watch it, he can't answer a single question straight because he's actually on the Hulu doco, and they ask him pretty straightforward questions, and even some he could even say yes or no to, and he just does not answer a single question properly.
Do you think that might be because of the legal proceedings though? It could be because he's
a lot of it he does say, like, I can't talk about that because of legal proceedings, blah, blah, blah. But even little things like, I'm going to paraphrase, but something like, did you really think you were going to pull this off, or did you think this would be enough time? It was something like that. And he was just like, he just couldn't answer the question. And even the fact, which really stumped me too, was because you know how the whole Ja Rule tweet came out being like, I've been bamboozled too.
I'll get to that. That's hilarious, by the way. It's just him claiming that he was also like fucked over by Billy. Yeah. Yeah,
but they kind of asked him like, well, did Ja Rule know it was gonna like pretty much be a failure too? And he was like, because Ja Rule was there the whole time.
Yeah, right? He was literally there. Yeah.
You see it the whole time. So you kind of think, well, how didn't even he know what was going on? Doesn't Ja Rule have money too? And Billy just goes like, oh, he was there. And they're like, yeah, so did he know too? And he was just like, well, he was there. And they're like, yeah, but did he know that it was like how it was going? Did he know what was going on? And Billy's just like, oh, that was our private conversations. And it's like,
right. Like that, what? Like, you know, you can do like the no comment thing, but like even that, like private conversations, like, come on, like that has a lot of connotations to it.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably, if not more dangerous and more heavy than if he straight out like answered, yes, Ja Rule. And the fact that, and that's what gets you questioning, because like, is he either protecting Ja Rule because obviously they want to work together more or anything like that? Or like, does Billy have some integrity in being like, no, Ja Rule had no idea what was going on. Like he thought it was all great and whatever else, and it was fine. And so it was kind of like he was lying to. Yeah, it's just like either way, man, you look shit. So
yeah, exactly. Like he's trying to save face a little bit as well, I think. So Billy and his associates at Fyre believed it would cost far less and continued with their plans under that assumption. This is going back to the quote that it was going to cost $12 million. They tried to do things themselves where possible. McFarlane supposedly learned how to rent the stage by doing a Google search. Wow.
gotta love Google.
Hey man, I use Google all the fucking time, but never like when there's so much at stake, you know? Oh, Jesus Christ. Scheduled for 2 weekends in April and May 2017, the event sold day tickets from $500 to $1,500 and VIP packages including airfare and luxury tent accommodations for USD $12,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a sec. So the pricing. You and I have been to music festivals, right? So would you ever pay for something like this? Even if it's just like the base ticket?
Like, no. That's the straight out answer. Like, I wouldn't.
Because it's, you got to remember, it starts at $500, right? But like, you sold people like Blink-182. I can't remember the rest of the headliners, unfortunately. Well, the supposed headliners, but I have seen the biggest artists out there in my genre and even in other genres too.
Yeah, you go to a lot. You go to a lot of concerts as well. Like, I guess you're getting to that. Like, what would you pay for?
I would never pay more than, I'm gonna say maximum $200, and that's fucking pushing it. The most I've ever paid is $165, and that was for a 2-day event.
And that's like for a festival where you see how many artists? Like, how many artists can you see? Like, so many. I'm not
even kidding. It's like, there's multiple stages. And it's crazy. Like, for the prices to start at $500, like that is insane.
I think like too as well. Like obviously he wanted only the elite people to go,
right?
As well. So if not, he had some thought process there where he's like, well, let's maybe jack up the price because only people that can afford this much money will be able to go, and those people are most probably like taking care of themselves, have good clothes, look good, like probably have a bit of a following because they like post their good looking bodies and their cool lunches everywhere. So like I can see why he would like if a luxurious, let's say like a festival came to Australia where it was like at Sydney Harbour or something like that, and it was like $500 for like pretty much like you're on the harbour or something like that. It's like let's make one up now. It's like a floating festival around Sydney Harbour and it was going for like $1,000, I probably wouldn't be fazed because I'm like, okay, that's a festival for rich people. Cool.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you kind of like, I don't know. Look, I wasn't there. I don't know like the thought process of this kind of stuff, but it just seems, it doesn't feel, maybe because of hindsight, it's hard to judge when you've got hindsight, especially watching the doco, but like the things that they were claiming to have on this, especially the fact that they kind of claimed it was a deserted island. I don't know how I'd feel about spending that much money to go to a deserted island with a bunch of people that are probably going to be doing drugs, going to be drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
It is a bit, yeah. Like, I mean, personally, I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm good, man. But like, it is. Have you seen You've seen the Social Network, right?
Yeah.
So when he created Facebook, like there was all these like clubs at Harvard, right? I'm pretty sure there still are. But like he was inspired to create Facebook because like these clubs at Harvard would always invite I guess richer or better off people, and the word they would use is exclusive.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's what Billy's kind of like doing here? Like,
I think that's definitely what he was trying to do. Like, I just think of what's that guy's name? You American listeners will know. I think is it Abercrombie and Fitch or like what is it? It's not Gap. But it's like the guy that owned like Abercrombie and Finch, whatever, and they had like the topless models, and he kind of said he like had a statement saying like only good-looking people work in our stores. We only want like the best looking people to shop and blah, blah, blah. I kind of feel like that's what Billy might have been going for as well. Like he just like, you saw his
not
ad,
Michael
like,
Jeffries, is it?
I'm not 100% sure, but maybe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's a clothing thing. I'm good.
But yeah, I just feel like that's definitely what I reckon that's the angle that Billy was going for. Like, and that's the type of people though, if you look at it as well, that's the type of people that would use his app. Is probably the people that can spend thousands of dollars just to see a celebrity for like half an hour. Those are the type of people that are going to use his app. And that's pretty much what this Fyre Festival was. It was a promotion for his app.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that app for a sec? That sounds total bullshit, by the way.
You know what, though? I have to admit, like, I would not use it at all.
No.
No, not at all. But I know, like, a few people that definitely would. 100%. Oh, okay. Mate, the corporate world would be using this like every Christmas party, every birthday party. They'd be like, what random ass 90s celebrity can we get to our corporate function to lighten the place up? That's
wild.
Oh, okay. Like if we had it in Australia for reference, it would be like, hell yeah, I want the yellow wiggle at my Christmas party. Shit, yeah. Like, can you imagine that kind of stuff? Like, it would be crazy. So I kind of like, even though like I wouldn't use it, I get it. I do understand. And because like
because that's something that I couldn't get. I was just like, this is who would use this app? Like, it was just something that. Think
of all the like people that want to be like Kendall Jenner, that want to be like
that
want to have like selfies with all these kind of like maybe C to D grade celebrities, but still they're still celebrities and they've still probably got like millions of followers on Instagram. If they can like hire these people out to come to their party for like an hour and get a selfie, to them, that's like priceless because maybe then they become more of an influencer and, this whole fucking influencer phenomenon thing that's coming across.
Generation. Bullshit. Yeah.
But I was speaking of like the whole Fyre, to get off that, speaking of the whole Fyre like company, that's what really like is just so sad about the documentary because the people that were working for the actual product seems like they liked the product genuine people that liked and believed in the product. Like, yeah, this random guy had this like failed business before, but now he's like kind of making this like new business with Ja Rule. Okay, cool, Ja Rule, like whatever. And it seems like it was working to some extent because he had employees that like invested time and effort and everything like that. And that's who I really, really feel sorry for is the people from the Fyre company that just got that have debt now because they believed in their fucking CEO. They believed in their boss for hiring them and everything.
It's so bullshit. Yeah, it is. It is pretty heartbreaking, actually. You know what? I never really considered the people who work there. I actually considered, like, I think I was just more blindsided by the poor islanders than the people who work there. But yeah,
definitely.
So customers were promised accommodations in, quote, modern, eco-friendly, geodesic domes, end quote, and meals from celebrity chefs. Okay. Contrary to the festival's promotional material, the festival site Fyre K claimed to be a remote private island that once belonged to drug trafficker Pablo Escobar did not exist. Instead, workers in the Bahamas were busy preparing Roca Point for the festival, scattering sand over its rocks and improving a road to a nearby beach where they built some cabanas and installed swing sets. On the mainland, 5,000 tickets had been sold and an air service was hired to charter festival goers from Miami. A medical services company and caterer was also hired, but the latter withdrew a few weeks before the festival. With only 2 weeks to go, a new catering service with a $1 million total budget was hired, drastically reduced from the $6 million originally allocated to provide what was promised as, quote, uniquely authentic island cuisine, local seafood, Bahamian-style sushi, and even a pig roast, end quote. Yeah, the food thing was a disaster, dude.
That's what sparked the online presence, was that one sandwich photo, really. And I remember when I saw that photo on the Netflix special, I was like, I remember seeing that photo doing the rounds.
Did you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I didn't see it at all. Like this whole thing just went right by me. And I have a pretty good you know, social networking sort of like presence. Like I'm always on it. So I don't know how this went straight past me, man. Like
there was a lot, but yeah, the food was just like the whole, and that's where it gets. So the whole story, when you're watching it, you're kind of laughing because you're like, this isn't going to be pulled off, kind of thing. Especially, so I'll talk about the Netflix one in general. So you're just watching this, and you're just laughing because you're just like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. And the people around him, for some reason, support him and keep trying to work with him and all this kind of stuff. But then it gets to what I really loved about the Netflix special was the intense countdown. Like, that got me on like the edge of my seat. Like when they were like 3 months to go, 2 months to go, 4 weeks to go, and then it was like a few days. Yeah, that was intense. But when like the day actually came, like that was frightening. Like I was scared for the people there. Like I imagine like myself being there in that position, and honestly, I would be really scared for even my safety. Like it seems pretty harrowing.
It's wild, man. Like this poor lady, you know, the one that was handing out the food, who had like 5 or 6 staff members under her, and how much did she pay, Jill? Like out of her own pocket?
It was like 30 or 50. I can't really remember.
I believe it was high. I think it was 50.
50, yeah, maybe it was 50.
Out of her own pocket to pay the salary of these like people, to feed 400 people, right?
Yeah,
I think something like that. But it's insane. Like, and by the way, awesomely, this is like the positive, like, you know, the world that we live in. When a documentary as famous as this comes out, like a GoFundMe has been set up for that lady, and she's, I think, over $100,000 was raised for her, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, because she had nothing to do with it. These people just pretty much rocked up on her doorstep and were like,
they fucked her over.
Yeah, tragic.
So in March 2017, Fyre also hired a veteran event producer, Joran Lavie, who saw that it was impossible to hold the sort of event McFarlane and Ja Rule had envisioned at the site. I keep laughing at Ja Rule. You can hear like my voice shaking. He assumed they would postpone the event to November, as they had been discussing, since they were not ready. But after Fyre told him they would stage the event in the spring anyway, claiming weather would ruin the event, would ruin the event, Lavie told them to abandon plans for temporary villas and instead erect tents, the only accommodations that could be delivered in the time remaining. Lavie advised Fyre to make this clear to those who had already bought tickets, as otherwise it would be damaging to their brand. He says the company assured him that an email was being prepared, but he is not sure if it was sent.
Yari was like Lavi was in the doco as well, and it must. This is again like I feel sorry for the people that were involved, but to come here to be like, look, you can't do this, like, and just be pretty much laughed at, like, is just so beyond unprofessional. And like you're seeking this person's help and advice, and like instead they're giving it to you and they're saying you can't do this, and they're just going, yeah, shut up, we're going to do it anyway.
Here's the thing, like I think, see, if you're setting up an event like this where the entire purpose is to have fun and like, you know, be social and basically be everything that professionalism is not, I think people like tend to blur the lines between professionalism and unprofessionalism, especially when like setting up the business. Like, what do you think about that? Like, you know, you said that Fyre was pretty unprofessional to Lavi, but like Fyre, they're setting up this event that's totally, you know, supposed to be unprofessional and laid back and chill and all these kind of like good vibe things. Like, do you think they kind of like underestimated it? Well, obviously they did, but
yeah.
Still.
I think also like, and this just comes down to like my own morals as well. Like, you can go to work and have fun, but at the end of the day, a job needs to be completed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Even, you know, we've done some film work before in the past, and it's like I have fun on set and that's fine, and I'll talk to my actors and I'll talk to my producers and whatever else. But at the end of the day, I want to get that shot that I want to get. You know what I mean? And like, and I'm not wasting anyone's time. Like, there's like 20 people maybe that I'm holding responsible for time, so I don't want to run over time. These people are like got like an employee rate of what, like in the thousands that they have
insane.
And I understand that's really overwhelming. Like, but then don't fucking do it. If you can't handle it, then don't fucking do it. Or like get a team instead of you and Ja Rule. Like, just yeah.
I just feel they didn't like do like a report, like some kind of like forecast, like, you know, some kind of
they just had this cool idea. It's just rich people. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it's just like they had this idea and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And they did it without, and again, being surrounded by probably a lot of yes men. It's just like they were told, yeah, okay, cool, that sounds like an awesome idea. And you know what? It is an awesome idea. But to be made in maybe like 2.5 years, like if they were starting to make in 2017, then be like, oh, in 2019, the Fyre Festival kind of thing. Like, shit doesn't happen overnight. Like, and that's what they were expecting. They were expecting things to happen overnight. They were expecting overnight success. Billy was probably expecting, you know what? I don't know what Billy wanted to get out of this. Like, apart from the Fyre, like, company to like earn money, I don't know if he wanted to also like be famous, be surrounded by like a ton of models and like have that atmosphere around him, because it's like yeah, you kind of go, why did you even try to do this? Because it seems like from the very beginning you could not pull this off.
Yeah, I don't think it's more about fame. I think it's more about success, like actual wealth. Because was McFarlane actually rich before this venture?
So the Magnesis thing, it came out that he, and that's like you were saying before, he was fraudulently saying that he had all these investments, but he didn't. And that's another thing that he was saying, that Magnesis, his other company, made, I can't remember the figure, but it made a certain amount of money. So he was like affluent because of that. In reality, he was paying people off, like, still from Magnesis, because it was, again, it was another scam. Magnesis was just a scam on top of another scam. So he was still paying people off, and he himself bought a lot of his own shares. And so he had this name, and it's like, and that's where you kind of look at a person and you go, okay, you have no credibility, because he did one business that they touch on the Hulu, gone blank now, but it's some like Google, it's called like bling or spling or splash. I don't know. People that know are going to like
Some
be
bullshit. Yeah.
yelling at me right now. So he did this one thing, didn't go well, didn't get investments, didn't go right. Magnesis, tried to do it, got a bit of a hype around it, but then people will soon realize it was a fucking scam. And then he tries this other thing. It's like, you don't, as a business person, you don't go like, oh, I have got a massive like record because I've had 2 failed businesses before. Like that shouldn't be your resume, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's bullshit, man. I'm so pissed off. Like the more I like go into it and like talk about this, I'm so angry about it. Okay, so dude, I didn't know about this because it wasn't in the Netflix documentary. Comcast considered investing $25 million in the app, which McFarlane apparently hoped would allow him to finance a festival, but declined beforehand. Reportedly, McFarlane had valued Fyre at $90 million and was unable to provide sufficient proof of that when Comcast requested it. I didn't know that at all. That's insane. Yeah,
they briefly touched on this in the Hulu one. I don't think they mentioned 25 million, Jesus, but they did mention how like, yeah, Comcast was part of their like pretty much helping to sponsor up this fucking event.
Yeah.
But again,
isn't that such a McFarlane thing? Like, oh, Fyre's worth $90 million.
Yes, he's just a liar. It's just, I feel like he's just a 9-year-old kid in a, like, I don't even know how old he is, 30-year-old man's body. Like, it's just crazy.
Crazy. So, writing for New York Magazine, one of the event organizers later noted that since at least mid-March, there were significant problems with the planning, and at one point it was agreed to outright cancel the 2017 festival in favor of working to perfect the 2018 one, which is what the right thing should happen.
Definitely.
These plans, however, were revoked at the last minute with the decisions to go on with the event as planned. Quote, let's just do it and be legends, man. End quote. One of the organizers is reported to have said. Which, by the way, I'm sure that must have been said, right? Because like the way they throw around these quotes in like Netflix, in the Netflix one, it's just literally, that's exactly every line of dialogue that Ja Rule and Billy McFarlane have.
The most insane crazy scene as well was like, there's a lot of insane crazy moments, but like after it all fucking like failed and finished was like, then they had this like, they all kind of scrambled together and had this meeting, and pretty much the people that were working for Fyre, some of them kind of trickled into help with Fyre Festival as well, but they were wanting to make sure that like, you know, their jobs were safe and that they were like, you know, okay, what's our next step now to secure like our own asses kind of thing. So they're all having this meeting about like what to do next for the company. And I love it because Ja Rule's just like, all right, so yeah, we've got all these smart people here. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And like, and they're like, I don't know, man, like we just committed fraud. Like, what do we do? And he's like, I wouldn't necessarily call it fraud.
Yeah.
It's
dude,
just
like that was the moment where I just laughed. Yeah. I'm like, dude, they're two different charges, but one is a tort and one is a criminal fucking thing. Like you will be charged with both, I guarantee you.
And for paying customers, like that's the same thing.
It's
like
tomato.
It's literally the same thing. So you can't go sit there and like, yeah, like you said, you can't go sit there and pick apples and oranges. Like you fraudulently advertised this product and service, you fucking dickhead. Like,
yeah, exactly. And dude, this is one of the most craziest things, right? So this whole thing about the RFID bans and getting them to load more money onto it. So after the Comcast deal fell through, McFarlane had obtained some temporary financing for Fyre through investor Ezra Bimbaum, whatever the fuck. I don't know how to pronounce that. Hopefully that's right. They required the company repay at least $500,000 of the loan within 16 days.
Yeah.
Around this time.
This was crazy in the Hulu episode too, because you're like, oh, okay, he just pulled some random money out, and then next minute he only has 16 days.
16 days. That is nothing. But $500,000, Joe. Imagine like trying to scrounge that shit up in 16 days.
I couldn't give you $500, mate.
I don't even think I've seen that much money in my life. Like total. Like I'm talking like since I started the workforce. Like collectively. Around this same time, Fyre informed ticket holders that the event would be, quote, cashless and cardless, end quote, and encouraged attendees to put up to $1,500 in advance on a digital Fyre band. I was about to say total Fyre band. To cover incidentals, according to one lawsuit. Each attendee will be issued an RFID smartwatch-like ID to use in Ireland. This was despite advisors warning McFarlane that such digital bracelets would be useless because of the poor Wi-Fi connection at the site. Wow.
Oh my God. This, for me, if I was like, this is the moment where I wouldn't say I lost all sympathy for the festival goers, but this is where I was like, this is where you should have been like, this is a scam kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is where I think
like... I mean, like, there's a little bit of buyer beware here, right? Like, you gotta do a little bit more digging, right? Because I'm pretty sure at this point, the only like marketing that Fyre had put up was just that promo video with the models, isn't that right?
Yeah, but then this is also because this was a few months after that like advertising video, and this is when one of that guy that like pretty much was he a financier or was he a lawyer that like found out because some of his like musical friends were in the festival, some of his mates were kind of like talking about Fyre Festival, whatever. So he started doing his own digging around and he found out that it was pretty much like a fraud. And some photos were being leaked. And so he started tweeting out some of the photos and being like Fyre Festival was a fraud, blah, blah. So I guess like you get like one person with not a lot of following versus saying that like Fyre Festival is a fraud versus Ja Rule being like, this is going to be the coolest shit ever. So you kind of go like, oh, whatever. Everyone has an opinion. I'll listen to Ja Rule. But then you get this like email being like, you need to give us $300 to $500. Yeah. That's where I'd be like, I just paid you like at least $1,000 depending on like if people bought like a fucking villa or whatever else.
12,000 for the villa, but 500 at least, right?
Yeah.
About $2 million was uploaded to these bracelets, 40% of which, according to the lawsuit later filed by Birnbaum, was used by McFarlane to pay off the short-term loan. Wow.
So it's just like a cycle of like money being pushed around.
It's misappropriation of funds, and it's just totally dishonest, and it's absolutely fraud. Like there's no doubt that there's deception there. But yeah, let's talk about what happened at the venue at the actual Fyre Festival.
Oh, this is when my anxiety strikes.
Early in the morning of April 27th, heavy rain fell on Great Exuma, which soaked the open tents and mattresses piled out in the open air for guest arrivals later that day. So
that was just like the icing on the cake, I feel like.
Yeah.
And you know what? I when was it Lavi who said when it started to rain, we all just started laughing. And like at first I was like, wow, that's evil. But then I thought like, no, that's just a human condition when you're faced with like just the absurd reality that you're living in. There's nothing else
out of
to
insanity,
do.
Dude.
Exactly. Yeah, I can definitely imagine that.
Also, yeah, did we mention there's just fucking shitty mattresses in those tents? Because that's bullshit, man. Like, did you see that shit?
Yeah, it literally looked like. Because they used tents from like, did they say Hurricane Katrina? It literally looked like Hurricane. Yeah, it literally looked like Hurricane Katrina had hit this.
Happened,
and people were just like scrambling for tents, scrambling for mattresses that was still had kind of lucky they had plastic covers over them because of the rain. Otherwise, that would have like been even worse, I guess.
But there were like mattresses that were soaked through.
Yeah, like, and that's what I get too. Like when you see that vision of all those tents, and it's just like, and they're just open tents. Like there's no security, there's no like locks or anything. Like I would be scared for my safety, and they are so lucky that no one got really badly injured or hurt or like even abused or assaulted or anything like that. Like very, very lucky that nothing happened like that we know of.
Yeah, that we know of, like, because I mean, 400 people. You got to remember, man. Like, there would have been, there must have been,
that have been stuck on an island all day, waiting and drinking in the sun.
Yeah, like, because there was okay, I'm forgetting his name, but the old dude with the red jumper, the gay guy. What was his name?
I don't know, but he's the savior.
He is. So, do you want to talk about what he did? Was about to do rather?
Great. That's just great. That I love him too.
Tell us, Jill. Go for gold. So he was an event advisor.
But this is just a prime example of like how narcissism works as well, because these people suck you in as well and manipulate you to think that what you're doing and like delude you, and so to delude you to do things for them as well. And I definitely feel like this guy, what was his name, was just deluded to help Billy because he trusted him.
I'll try and look for his name. Just keep talking.
Yeah. So he's helping Billy, and he's doing whatever he can to make sure this goes as safely as possible. He's the kind of guy that's always like fretting in the corner, and you really feel sorry for him because he admits to like working like 12 hours a day and then going home and finishing a day and just crying because he just thought, this is not ethical, this is not safe, this doesn't feel good for me to do as a job. Like, and that's a pretty shitty place to be in, no matter like how rich you are, what you're doing for a job or anything. That is a pretty shitty place to be in. And then he was actually back in America doing some PR event or something. And Billy asks him.
Sorry, Jill, let me just jump in. So his name is Andy King.
Oh, and he was a king.
Yeah, he was a god. By the way, just quickly, he was offered 3 TV shows this week.
Yes,
from notable networks.
Do you know what the TV shows would be around? Like what? Like
no, is it about sucking dick?
Yeah, what a pal.
Yeah, what about? Tell us. All right, dude, tell us the rest of the story.
Yeah. So was it the fact that the water was in customs?
Yeah. So customs in the Bahamian customs wouldn't let through the water. And yes. Basically, yeah.
And the guy, and was it like someone at customs wanted their dick sucked? And so well, who do they call? They call the king, and he's like, Billy called the king and was like,
no, I don't even think like they wanted, like the way the Netflix like documentary made it out to be.
Yeah, it was just like, you need to come down here and suck some dick. Like,
yeah, yeah, because you never see it from like the customs officers like perspective. It's just like Andy King just saying, look, this is what happened. I got a call from Billy saying, hey, you got to do this. Will you suck dick to fix this water problem?
And it's crazy that he was being literal, because when he first said that, I was like, and then he was like, yeah. So I went down there, I had some mouthwash and blah, 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 and I was ready to suck someone's dick. And I was just like, whoa, like he was for real. Like that's how far he was willing to go to make sure the people at this festival had bottled water. Like,
yeah. Hats off to Andy King, man.
Hats off to you. You deserve all the TV shows in the world.
Totally, mate. Man. Seriously, I would watch that shit. Well, I wouldn't watch some of this shit, but like, oh man. So the first flights from Miami to Exuma, operated by Swift Air and Extra Airways, landed at 6:20 a.m., which, by the way, the Fyre staff were hoping that it would be late, but it was actually on time for once, or early, I believe, early, right? That afternoon, Blink-182 announced that it was withdrawing from the festival, stating in a Twitter post that, quote, "We're not confident that we would have what we need to give you the quality of performances we always give our fans," end quote. Crazy. By the way, I just listened to a podcast on Joe Rogan's podcast with Travis Barker on it. Travis Barker? Is he the lead?
No, he's the drummer.
Yeah, sorry. The drummer. He's not the lead. My bad. But yeah, he was a good podcast. Pretty good.
Cool.
Because Joe Rogan needs our fucking support. Initial arrivals were brought to a, quote, impromptu beach party at a beachside restaurant where they were plied with alcohol and kept waiting for around 6 hours while frantic preparations of the festival site continued. Dude, okay,
That's
so
crazy.
I remember once, I remember like standing in like lines at Future Music Festival for like an hour, and I was like, when the fuck are we going in? 6 hours, but like, come on.
And the fact that like you're not prepared for that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's just blindsiding you. Like you're just like, oh wow. And add to the fact that on the drive in, you're seeing this shit.
Yeah.
No. Or is the drive in after?
The driving is after, but it's just, but they're just making also another safety issue is like these people are on the beach in the water drinking, like, and you know, where if you live near a beach or a tropical place, you'll know that like in the water or on the beach is like the worst place to just be sitting or standing and drinking because you're just going to get so dehydrated. And like, so these people are just like, and they don't, I don't necessarily know, but it seems like they weren't really notified like a countdown. It's not like they were like, all right, guys, we're going to be leaving in 3 hours. So get your drinks on. So they're probably just like thinking, oh, we're going to get picked up any minute now. Let's just like pre-drink as much as we can or, you know, whatever else before we go to the like site.
That and they don't even have their luggage as well, right? Like
that's
it's just
scary.
Yeah, that is scary. Fuck that. That's like my worst nightmare when I travel.
Oh God.
Later arrivals were brought directly to the grounds where the true state of the festival site became apparent. Festival goers were dropped off at the production bungalow where McFarlane and his team were based so they could be registered. But after hours of long lines and the process broke down and turned into a free-for-all as people rushed to claim their own tents. So I guess the villa shit is off fucking.
It was literally now. Like it was Lord of the Flies shit. Like
yeah.
And in
like
the
survival of the fittest shit.
It was, and in the Hulu doco, it was someone. I don't think it was anyone. It was someone from the executive, like some form of producer of the event or something like that, got there and saw this like massive amount of people and were like, okay, let's just try and give them like a ticket or something like that. So they opened up their laptop and they tried to like get names and like hand tickets out and be like, okay, you're like number 1, go find a tent. All right, cool. You're number 2, go find a tent or whatever else. And so they said that they got through about half the amount of people. And like there was about like what, did you say 400 people on the first day that arrived?
Yeah, 400. Yeah.
So they got through like a lot of their people, but then all of a sudden Billy comes out and he stands on that table and then people are like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And he just shouts, go get your tent. And then everyone just like scrambles and runs and just goes for it. And that's when it just turns into like
this guy who has like no knowledge of PR or safety, like it's just oh man.
That's what I can't believe is like, I know I've said it before, but I honestly cannot believe no one got like seriously injured or overdosed or like hurt or like, because it was just tense. Like if I was going like, you know, I'm gonna play the chick card, I'm gonna play it. Like if I was going, I would be like, as a female, like I would be really worried about my safety. If I was just going with like one other girlfriend as well, I'd be very worried for our safety. So I can't imagine how like people felt, even if they did have big groups, like just that mentality of like a free for all. And you know, that one guy on Netflix who was just saying he was peeing on tents just for the sake of it or whatever. Like, what a fucking douche. Like, that's what I mean. It was just like anarchy, and it was like they didn't have law, or they didn't have guidelines, like nothing. It was, and then when the scary bit too was when they just turned all the lights off and it was just pitch black. Yeah, imagine like that sinking feeling, or just the like the split second of surprise when like you hear Billy McFarlane say, all right, everyone go run to a tent. Yeah.
Like what? Like what the fuck did I pay for? And
seeing the tents and knowing that there's only like probably 300 or something.
Right, exactly.
And just being like, fuck. There's also reports from. I was just gonna say too. It was funny in the Hulu doco when they interviewed a few influencers, and one influencer just happened to get some mansion or something like that, and they were like, so you happened to get it? She was like, yeah, but we felt really bad. And then they like cut to a clip of like her dancing around the mansion and being like, whoa, we made it. And it's just like,
Oh my god.
You're a fucking dick.
I do want to check it out. You did link me that Hulu one, so because we don't have Hulu here, guys, in Australia. So
Nope.
yeah, that's a thing. Reports from the festival emerged of various problems, including the mishandling or theft of guests' baggage, scattered disaster relief tents with dirt floors, some with mattresses that were soaking wet, a lack of housing assignments causing guests to leave with no place to sleep, an unfinished gravel lot, a lack of medical personnel or event staff, no cell phone or internet service, portable toilets, no running water, inadequate and poor quality food, and heavy-handed security. Many attendees were reportedly stranded as flights to and from the island were cancelled after a government order that barred any more planes from landing. Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate waiting at any airport, even for a scheduled flight. Like, that is insane.
How crazy was it when they like locked them in the airport?
Yeah. They literally locked them in the airport. Like, is this like false imprisonment? Like, what is happening here?
One guy said on the Hulu docu, like, one reason they gave is because like they obviously were staying there at the airport, and they locked him in because like if one of them left outside and they lit a cigarette, then an explosion could happen or whatever. That was their like reason for locking them in. But that's just I would be like, because I'm claustrophobic too, that would just freak me the fuck out well.
Is the island made of methane gas? What the fuck is happening? The first flight back to Miami boarded at 1:30 a.m. on April 28, but was delayed for hours due to issues with the flight's manifest. It was cancelled. Jesus Christ. It was cancelled after sunrise, and passengers were locked in the Exuma airport with no access to food or water and no air conditioning. Passenger recalled that at least one person passed out from the heat and had to be hospitalized. The flight eventually left Exuma the next morning. More charter flights to Miami departed from Exuma throughout the day. This is like Moses getting the Egyptians to cross the fucking sea or the desert. Like, this is insane. Oh boy. Shall we get on to the aftermath?
Yes, please.
Let's get on to the aftermath. So, as a result of the festival, McFarlane and Ja Rule are the subject of a $100 million lawsuit in the state of California. It was filed on behalf of plaintiff Daniel Jung by entertainment lawyer Mark Garagos, who is seeking class action status for the lawsuit with more than 150 plaintiffs. You're lucky you have like that little amount of people. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Per the filing, Jung's lawsuit alleges fraud, breach of contract, breach of covenant of good faith, negligent misrepresentation. So basically, the firm pledged to hold, quote, all those who recklessly and blindly promoted the festival, end quote, accountable, which was interpreted as being directed at Jenna, Hadid, and other social media influencers. So there you go. And a lawyer stated Fyre Festival sent cease and desist letters to whistleblowers, which again is pretty full on as well. So, second class action was filed. Not really going into that one. Third lawsuit was filed in New York against Ja Rule, McFarlane, and Fyre Media. And Chief Marketing Officer Grant Margolin. So we didn't really talk about him, but he was also kind of like in over his head as well. In the documentary, you saw him losing his mind, man. He
He looked like insane. A crazy person, like a legit crazy person.
He did. But let's talk about the criminal investigation, because there's these massive, like, obviously, like, actual lawsuits, like, you know, so you got, it was 9 lawsuits, right? But then you also got the criminal investigation. So New York Times reported McFarlane and his associates were under an active federal criminal investigation by the FBI for mail fraud, wire fraud, and securities fraud. The case was overseen by by New York, and McFarlane was arrested and charged with 1 count of wire fraud on June 30, 2017. Okay, so I want to talk about, because when was he on bail?
Oh, yeah.
Remember he was so because on March 16, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of wire fraud. And So he was ordered to repay $26 million to investors. I can't find the part where he was on bail because
it's just crazy.
Okay.
Like a cheater doesn't stop. Like
talk about what happened when he was out on bail.
Like this is where it's like I say like he is a narcissist and he is delusional because he thinks he got away with Fyre Festival. That's the thing. He definitely believes he got away with it. And so he's in his penthouse apartment and he's on to his next scam. Like the crazy bit was like he was just that he wanted. The crazy bit that I don't understand is that he wanted it filmed as well. He was like when he called up his filmmaker mate and was like, "Hey, can you come over and film this shit?" That's why I'm like, this guy is delusional. Like this guy's crazy. Like why is he doing this? What does he want from it?
Also, the guy that filmed it was a bit like he looked like a bit of a psychopath, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I mean, I'm not judged. Yeah, but yeah, and then he's just onto his next scam now, and the fact that like, see, he's just using someone else's face, someone else's voice, but he's doing the exact same thing again with the email. So he's got all these people's emails now because of the Fyre Festival. That's like a great power, you know, having all those contacts and everything.
Mailing list, yeah.
Yeah, and now he's just firing off these. And look, people are stupid. Let's just get down to it. Not everyone is going to see like a spammy email and be like, that's fucking fake. I'm just going to delete it and not read it. Let's say out of 1,000 people, maybe 100 will read a scammy email and be like, okay, this seems pretty cool. I want to get like exclusive tickets to see backstage, like Beyonce kind of thing. I'll take my chances and I'll spend like $300 to get a ticket or $600 to get a ticket. And it's just again, he's doing it again. Exactly what he did with like the money situation, trying to like get the money that he was in debt from the Fyre Festival of Magnesis. He's doing again with this emailing. What did he call it? What's he calling this email thing? Or
yeah,
is it
was
Frank
called
or something? Or like the person that's emailing them?
Frank at something. Yeah, VIP something. Yeah.
Fucking weirdo.
Yeah, man. I just like while being out on bail, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
This is a warning sign, if anything, to stop what you are doing.
Exactly. But essentially, he was, he was put back before the court again. He was caught in that scam again. And man, like it just I don't get Billy McFarlane. Like I get him. But it's just, I don't get.
Yeah. But then it's like, again, is he surrounded? Because who would work with him? You know what I mean? So he must be surrounded by just as delusional, just as like narcissistic and yes man type of people, because who would honestly work with someone that has been told you cannot do business anymore? You can't do Fyre like festival anymore. You can't work for Fyre. Like you can't do like business. Like you just shouldn't be doing business anymore. And yet who would go and partner up with this guy?
Yeah, like, so June 12, 2018, McFarlane was charged with selling fraudulent tickets to events such as the Met Gala, Burning Man, and Coachella while out on bail. On October 11, 2018, McFarlane was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. He is currently incarcerated at FCI Otisville in Orange County, New York.
Even like his girlfriend is all like, because his girlfriend features on the Hulu special, and she's just saying,
"Oh,
like,
really? Okay."
Yeah, and she's just saying like, "Oh, I just love him so much." And look, each to their own. Like everyone has someone kind of thing. But even if you love someone, if you really did love someone and they were doing something wrong, you would say, you are doing this wrong. You are wrong. You need to stop for their own well-being. But I just feel like, again, he surrounds himself with people that support him. So therefore, he probably won't ever change, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. Like, I mean, one of the when I studied there was a unit at uni called Issues in the Criminal Justice System, and we learn about what the main obviously purposes are of prison time, And like, you know, while you do have that that punishment part of it, like a big part of it is rehabilitation. And honestly, I don't think someone like this can be rehabilitated. Like that's just my from what I've seen from like the Netflix stuff and doing a little bit of research. This guy is like, he's got evil on his mind.
Yeah. You know what he's doing in prison now? He's teaching inmates about the music industry and how to like record music.
What? Apparently, did he get all those like skills from Ja Rule, the very successful
rapper? Passed it off. Like, is he trying to get his own his training in grooming people? Because no one will work with him. He's like, oh, these people will be out in like 10, 20 years time. Maybe by then I can do business and they'll be my workers. Like, apparently
he's doing well in prison. Like he actually kind of like runs the place. Like he's kind of like an alpha male. Did you hear about that?
Oh my god, no! Of course,
he is. He must have, like, because this is obviously a guy who's really good at manipulation. So
yes, 100%.
It does not surprise me, man. But yeah, man, he
probably still believes that he's not in like the real prison. You know what I mean? Because like again, in like the Hulu like doco, they were like, "Have you thought about prison?" And he was like, "Nah, that really hasn't registered my mind yet." Kind of thing. And
he's just in this state of denial.
Yeah, and I still feel like even though he's in prison, he probably just thinks like, oh, this isn't like the real prison. This is just like, you know, this is like, I'm not in prison. I'm just in like a form of a prison. I can totally see him.
I'll be out soon. It's fine.
Yeah.
I can just go back to doing my shit.
Yeah, 6 years and I'll be in my penthouse doing the same fucking fraud again. For sure.
6 years is so long when I think of how long it took. That's how long it took me to do my degree.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so fucking long.
Felt like the same sentence.
Yeah, pretty much.
The thing I was looking into too about the Netflix doco that's really come out, especially in the last day or two, because the Fuck Jerry social media account posted a lot about the Fyre Festival. And obviously in the Netflix doco, they mentioned how they were even told to delete comments that were kind of like negative as well.
Yeah.
And in the Hulu doco, one of the ex people that worked for Fuck Jerry, who was working on the campaign, like filtered out comments with like certain keywords, such as like literally it got as bad as if you mentioned festival, you would be blocked from Fuck Jerry.
Really?
Yeah. If you mentioned plane, arrival, I can't remember the exact words, but like food, accommodation, flights, like anything that they were getting like comments on, they would filter them out and users would be blocked. And also like they mentioned how when people came, because no one was answering emails on the Fyre front, so they would come to the Fuck Jerry accounts whenever they posted about Fyre Festival and ask them questions and like inbox them questions and stuff like that. And so people at Fuck Jerry were like just deleting these bad comments because again they said that they were just told to do like what Fyre said, and that's what they said. They were just like deleting all this negative like press about it kind of thing. But if you, like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, the reason why the Netflix doco, first of all, looked amazing and like was so,
I'm reading it now,
so fucking seamless, was because Jerry Media was like there filming it and like they helped make the Netflix doco as well. So they were kind of like behind the scenes, and therefore this is kind of like, and people are saying this is their way out of the responsibility that they had because they helped produce a doco that made it the Fyre Festival come to light. And that's where users are a bit angry because they felt like the Jerry media misled them and distrusted them, because ultimately they should have been like, no, we're not deleting these comments, and taken some responsibility kind of thing. But, and again, like, you have to kind of look at the Fuck Jerry guys, because they were just 3 guys, and now the whole Fuck Jerry Festival Instagram account is getting a lot of backlash, because comics for ages now have been saying that Fuck Jerry just steals content, which we, like, as a consumer, I followed Fuck Jerry for a while as well, before I really got into Reddit, and I just realized everything's just like from Reddit pretty much, that it's obvious he just steals memes from like funny Twitter accounts or whatever else, and because he's got a bigger audience. Like, honestly, a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I'd heard of Fuck Jerry for the first time literally last week.
Are you serious?
I shit you not. I honestly, maybe I came across it once and not even realize it, because there's so many like internet meme pages like out
exactly.
there. But like, I came across it because this actor, his name's Paul Scheer. He actually has a really good podcast called How Did This Get Made? It's one of Matt's favorite podcasts. It's one of my favorite too. It's definitely great. He posted, unfollow and report Fuck Jerry, because they're stealing like comedians like stuff and making money off them. So that's kind of come hand in hand with this whole situation, because like people are finding out that they mistrusted them, blah, blah. And then comics have been saying for a while, well, yeah, they've been stealing our jokes. They've been stealing our material. Like Pat, is it Pat Oswalt? I think his name is. Patton.
Sorry?
Patton Oswalt?
Yes.
The chubby guy? Yeah.
Yes. He was like heavily campaigning the fuck Jerry, and Tom Hiddle, how do you say his name?
Hiddleston?
I don't know. Yeah. So he
Wait,
made
Loki?
like a big. Sorry?
Are you saying Loki? Like Tom Hiddleston?
No.
Oh.
No, a comedian.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
Mate, that would have been fucking great.
I was like, fucking Marvel. Like, there's a Marvel actor calling him out. Like, what?
That would have been someone else. No, but yeah, all these comics were pretty much coming out being like fuck Jerry kind of thing. Because of the whole like content situation and everything. Tim Heidecker, sorry. He wrote a song. Right. He wrote a song called Fuck Jerry, which started the whole hashtag Fuck Jerry kind of situation. So I guess people now are realizing like, oh, I was just like, you kind of watch this doco and you're like, holy fuck, that was like, I will admit it's a fucking great documentary. It is an amazing documentary, and I do recommend people watch it. But then you do feel this level of like manipulation, because you do feel like they're trying to cop out of their responsibilities in a way, because they pushed this event which they knew pretty much wasn't going to work. And one of the people behind the social media accounts for Fyre Festival was on the Hulu doco, and he was just upfront with everything. He was told like to delete comments and blah, blah. And pretty much they came out of meetings when they had meetings with the people from Fyre, and they were like, holy shit, this is just not going to happen. So the people at Fuck Jerry definitely had the hindsight of as well, like that this event just wasn't going to work, but they continued to promote it. They continued to delete negative comments and all that kind of stuff, which I think the Fuck Jerry page definitely does have more of a responsibility than probably like Kendall Jenner, let's say, because she was probably shown the figures and whatever else, and then just went home. You know what I mean? She just went home and did her in life. Whereas these guys are actively seeing their users complain about it and have to put filters on their posts because they're getting such negative feedback, and they know, and they're having these meetings, and then afterwards they walk out of the meeting and they go, this isn't going to fucking happen. And one of the statements one of the legal statements, the Fuck Jerry guys say about the guy in the Hulu doco, let's just call him John. Because I'm so bad with names. They pretty much stated like John does not represent the Fuck Jerry corporation. We do not agree with anything that he has said, blah, blah. And they were like, did you want to comment on that? And he was just like, fuck those guys. Which I thought was just great. Yeah, so and you know what? You don't see a lot of people, like you watch these documentaries, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I watch these documentaries about people or a business and it just fails like this, but then the people still work for the company, and you go, how can you still work for this company even though it just miserably failed? Like, okay, maybe if a new team leader came in or whatever, but at least this guy from Fuck Jerry, he left. He was like, this is fucking shit, whatever else. I'm doing something seedy.
He bailed, yeah.
Fuck this kind of thing. So I trust him, kind of thing, because at least he had a bit of integrity there, I guess.
Dude, I hadn't heard any of this. This is all new information to me. I'm taking all this in. Holy shit, it was man.
Crazy. Yeah. And the fact that, and this is, I guess, just goes another conversation of how production companies can definitely manipulate our point of view, because then you're questioning, obviously everything that happened in a Fyre Festival was a fucking disaster. But then you kind of go, because you watch it and then you see that Jerry Media made it and you go, how much of this did you manipulate? And how much of it from the whole Jerry Media or Fuck Jerry corporation is there that you aren't telling us, kind of thing as well?
Yeah, I mean, when you watch a documentary, I mean, as much as it should be objective as possible, you have to remember that it is being made by a person, someone, and we as human beings, there is no fucking way that we can be objective as possible. We say it on the podcast all the time, whenever we talk about a movie, we try and be as objective as possible, but I mean, we've got humans have feelings, guys. Seriously. And there will always be some kind of point of view that'll come out of it, even if it is somewhere in the background or somewhere kind of hidden, there is something there from the filmmaker that will kind of shine through, even if they do say, well, no, I'm just showing you the facts, but that's not really always true. But
exactly. Yeah. And this is like we said too, this is a great documentary, and I still would advocate people to see this documentary. And I would even advocate, because we've both done film studies before, and you're told to watch a lot of film. I would definitely have this as a recommended documentary to watch and to research about, because of the whole Jerry Media as well thing, and to make your own assumption. I think that's definitely it too, is to make your own assumption. And at the end of the day, it is a good documentary because it hits every nail on the head as well. And that's why I will even say, if you don't like watching documentaries, or if you not really into that kind of vibe, it's a fun documentary. It's like we said, no one gets seriously, especially in the Netflix one, you don't see anyone getting seriously injured or hurt or any health scares or anything like that. So it's easy in that way, because a lot of docos are pretty brutal.
Grim, yeah.
Yeah. But this is just something fun, and to watch rich people have a horrible day is always a bit of fun as well.
Yeah. I mean, it does start off very light and very fun, but I mean, like all good documentaries, it kind of goes into something a bit deeper.
Of course.
And by the end of it, you do. Dude, I nearly cried. That poor Islander girl who had to give 50 grand out of her own pocket. I was just like, Jesus Christ, man.
And wasn't there two people? It's been a few weeks when it came out. I saw Fyre, but there was a few people at the Fyre company that have $200,000 in debt because Billy used their identity.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Yeah, it was the guy. He was he had a beard. He worked for Fyre, not Fyre Festival. He worked mainly for Fyre, and he was kind of saying our job's safe because Fyre Festival fucking failed, and he now is in $200,000 of debt because Billy apparently used people, his employees, his fucking employees. He used their identity, and they're
Jesus.
Think about trusting someone, your own boss, that. That's fucking crazy.
That's messed up, man. Oh,
evil.
Jesus. Evil companies. Well, I think, we're about to wrap it up, but let's, I've saved the best for last, right? Ja Rule tweeted on 21st of Jan 2019, I too was hustled, scammed, bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray. Dude, how did he manage to spell bamboozle? I didn't know that, I think it's got more than 5 letters.
Oh, shit. Come for Ja Rule. You coming for Ja Rule?
Yeah, I am. I am Ja Rule. What do you got, Ja?
That's fair enough.
Oh man, but
I feel like that could
seriously.
someone in the universe, you know how in Parks and Rec, how Tommy, what makes a beat? What's that? What's his song? That anyway, like does it have a good sound? And that got turned into a song. Do you know what I'm trying to reference here?
No, well, I don't remember. Who's Tommy?
Sorry, Tom.
Oh yeah, Tom Haverford.
Tom,
yeah,
sorry. Yeah. How Tom.
All I remember is Treat Yourself.
Yeah, of course. But what makes a beat? Does it have a drop? Does it have a certain sound? And anyway, someone on the internet turned that into a song. Can someone please turn Ja Rule's tweet into a song? That would be.
I'm sure someone has.
I'm sure
it
someone
probably
is
has.
out there. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be out there.
How blind is Ja Rule? What a fucking
He's
idiot.
like seriously, there is no way you're escaping, you're escaping this. You are literally in the private meeting saying it's not fraud. It's not fraud.
Like,
what?
It's just false advertising, guys. Come on.
Fucking ridiculous.
But you know what's
Fucking
crazy
ridiculous.
as well is like now that Fyre Festival, it's gotten so much attention now, especially because it's on Netflix, you know, and the whole memes and tweets and all this kind of stuff. Now people are wanting to probably go. Like if they released Fyre Festival, 100% people would go and people would pay just to experience it themselves. That's the sad reality.
This is like bad press being good press, like any press being good press. Yeah. It is pretty negative, but I'm sure a lot of people will do due diligence before they go, right? Like they'll hopefully look into it and shit, but man, this is such a cautionary tale into doing your research before, buying into things, but also from Billy's side, like knowing when to quit and knowing when to give up the dream. Like
it's okay to say no, and it's okay. Yeah. And I think also like for people that work with Billies of the world as well, like don't be afraid to give constructive criticism. And if they turn you down, that's a reflection on them. It is not a reflection on you at all, because people like Billy, like he's getting his just desserts, he's getting what he deserves. So I think as well, like, I kind of was thinking, weren't people telling him no? Weren't people saying this can't be done? And there were people telling him this could not be done, like feasibly, legally.
From the beginning. Yeah.
And then he just did not want to hear it. And that's just, like I said, that's a reflection on him. And I'm just glad that people still continued, even like days before the event, they were saying, we can't do this. We can't do this. And he just did not listen.
Fucked up. Yeah. Well, anyway, Jill, let's wrap this up. Do you have anything else to say before we head out of here? About the podcast, about Fyre Festival?
I'm glad it's finally been something that we can agree to talk about.
I know. We honestly will find subject. It's like okay, so here's another one that I just remembered. We were going to talk about the haunting of Hill House as well.
Yeah, we were.
But I don't know, that just fell through. Like things just fall through, guys. Like we'll find another one
so
eventually.
Funny. Like if you were scrolling through our like messages to each other, it's just like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Did you watch this? And it's just like either one of us going no, or I'm nearly finished it, or I don't like it, or like it's like we don't have conversations. It's like we just list TV shows to each other now. Yeah. Like you could just message me like a random TV show and I'll just reply yes or no now.
Like my entire friendship with you is now based around the production of the podcast. That's so sad.
So maybe in another year's time, another doco will come out. And
no, fuck that. We're doing Game of Thrones.
Yes, for sure. We're doing Game.
Hell yeah. But guys, dude, Jill, thank you so much for joining me on this, man. This was a great talk. I did not think we would talk for so long. Like,
I was like, we got to fill this time out.
Yeah. Well, I was like, this is going to be like a 40-minute episode. Like if that, like, I'm just like, we're not gonna like, because I don't know too much, but you, like, I completely underestimated how much research you'd done. So thank you so much for that.
Backhanded compliments. I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take it.
I've just been dishing them out, haven't I?
Oh, I love it. It's only compliments I'll receive.
Oh, please. You're fantastic. You are great.
All right. No.
But this podcast has been great. I love how this episode turned out. Jill, tell us where, our listeners can find you and things like that, where you want to be found at least.
Well, if you want to
recluse.
If you want to see the random memes and shit that I post on Insta, probably go to my Jolt account. It is Jolt, Jolt with 3 underscores. Mainly just post about just the latest TV shows that are happening, but I also will give you updates on. I do have a YouTube channel with a few video essays. So if you're into even film studies or anything like that, and you want to give listen to some of my film video essays, that'd be sick. And I'm just starting a new website soon, so deets about when that goes live. And it's pretty much just opinion pieces on the latest TV shows, kind of like what Zoe does, but in type form, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't have the patience for typing, so yeah. But seriously, thank you so much for joining me on this. This was a lot of fun, actually. As sad as the story of Fyre is, it is actually pretty interesting
fun
to talk about. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I had fun too. Guys,
thanks, Jill. Look, you're always welcome here. Seriously, if we can find something to talk about,
if we can agree on something.
yeah, for sure.
Well, I'll talk to you about. We'll have all of our theories and conceptions about what's going to happen. Game of Thrones for sure.
That's going to be a whole nother thing. That's going to be a two-parter, man. That's going to be massive. It sucks because I can't talk to either Matt or Colin about it at all because they don't watch Game of Thrones. So
I'm your girl.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm hitting you up. But anyway, guys, we hope you enjoyed the Fyre episode. This was a great episode again. Midnight Double Feature. You can find us on Facebook. We've got 2 pages. It's Midnight Double Feature, which is our main page, and then we've got the after party as well. And we're also on Instagram, which is at Midnight Double Feature. We're on Twitter, which is at MDF Pod. And remember to rate and review us on iTunes if you can. That would be really, really, really much appreciated. But again, thanks to Jill for joining us. And we will see you next time.